right, you guys, welcome to our Thursday morning virtual coffee. We do this every Thursday morning, well, except for Thanksgiving and, a few other things like that. But every Thursday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. So we'd love to have you come back and join us again. I'm here with my business partner, Ray Schulseth. Ray.
Hey friends, good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
And Ray has had conversations with our speakers today. So I'm actually going to just turn the call over to him and let him introduce, and he's going to talk to our speakers today, kind of in a podcast style. So I'm muting. Ray, it's all yours.
All right, guys, good morning. Thanks for joining us. As Walter has dropped in the chat, start dropping your contact information. Guys, don't just drop a name, email, phone number, website if you have, so people can get in touch with you. Our job is to be seen and get found. We're here to help you do that. All right, two more newbies this morning that just happen to be our guest speakers, Richard and Dean. Richard, I can see you first, so I'm going to go ahead and call on you. Give us a little bit of intro on who, where, what you do.
So thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having us on the platform today. And to my person that's out there, Signature Realty, we're in Jersey as well. So I'm in the Jersey Shore area, and my partner is up in the Hoboken area. So, we're here to talk about, different techniques. Me and my partner, we built our business off of prospecting. We built our business off of talking to people, learning how to script practice and role play, so on and so forth. So, we're going to come to you today, bring in what we think is the most valuable tool in, the real estate today. Probably one of the most forgotten tools, actually, is, picking up a phone and just falling in love with talking to people. And my partner and I, we run what's called the Phone Warriors group. And within our Phone Warriors organization, that's what we do. We have a group that runs all day, like on a Zoom podcast, just like this. And we have about 30 to 35 people on average that just in there prospecting. And that's what we do.
I love it. Thanks, Richard. Dean, you're up, bud.
Well, what's up, guys? Very happy to be here. Debbie, Ray, thank you for having us, seriously. And so, per Richard's point here, I'm in the Hoboken, Jersey City area of New Jersey, which is right across, if anyone knows, from Manhattan, literally across the Hudson River. I am that market there, the vertical market, condos and everything. But we, I've been doing it now for 14 years. And I was on a team for the first 7, which we'll get into. And then the last 7 has been on our own, building our businesses via prospecting mainly. We're not marketing agents. We're not doing big farming or anything like that. And like what you guys do with this marketing engine, it's really just built on person-to-person contact. And hopefully we can provide a lot of value to you guys today talking about that.
I love it. Thanks, Dean. All right, so I'm just going to kick it off with a loaded question. Whoever wants to take the answer, Dean or Richard, why don't people pick up the phone anymore?
My partner always speaks first, so go ahead, Dean.
Well, it is a good question because this is something that we've dealt with in our own teams now and also our organizations. And I think the biggest thing is not knowing what to say and how to say it at the very basic level. I think we forget that you are in a sales business. Okay, this is as direct sales as you can. We're all real estate agents here, I presume, right?
A couple
and
lenders
so if you're a real estate agent, besides Ray's the only one that's, doing his own thing, doing bigger, big things, right? But the whole thing is, when it comes to selling any real estate, we've just found is that it's like, if you do not know or have internalized just a couple lines, a couple questions, so, there's a lot of scripts out there, right? There's a lot of things out there that, you can use that, will help you kind of get through. You can Google any documents like that. But the biggest thing that I think that we've kind of boiled down to is that, whether you're speaking to a seller, potential buyer, there are core questions that you need to get answers to see if they're even viable to buy or sell any property, right? So the first part of it is really just like understanding the overall picture of what this business is that you are in sales. So you can have a great farm, a great marketing engine, all these different things that bring in the leads. But how do you convert the leads? How do you get them from point A to point B? And I think that, if you understand that and then knowing what to say and how to say it, that's what hopefully will get you to pick up the phone more and make more sales.
Okay, so now, Dean, I want to take that and say, okay, so
Yeah.
now there's texting, there's AI, there's nurture drip campaigns, there's do not call list. People are not motivated to pick up the phone because of these other methods. Like, cold calling doesn't work anymore. What would you guys say to that?
Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I think Richard
Listen,
wants to answer, man. He's over there giggling.
yeah, I laugh because listen, we built our business off of strictly picking up the phone. And I'll be transparent. I did not start introducing text message, maybe where I'm lucky if I'm saying a year. And that's not even at a high level. That's just like when I feel like actually shooting a text message back. Because yes, they're going to see the text message, they're going to see the email. And look, I'm fully systemized. I have, drip campaigns that go out and drip on people. And I do, we do have text message blasts that go out. And then a lot of other things that like funnel. But the main thing is yes, it's picking up the phone. So, they say like as the day goes on, the phone gets heavier, which is true, right? If you don't, it's kind of not your first instinct is to pick up the phone and just have a conversation with a stranger. And to get yourself acclimated, what I always teach is pick up the phone and call somebody you actually want to speak to, which is your database, somebody in your database. It could be one of your close friends, something. Just get yourself a little familiar, get yourself laughing, and then move on. Now, I laugh because, the number one thing I hear is always like, oh, the do not call list. That is a real thing. And I'm not going to sit here and say like you should call the do not call list because that would be wrong, right? But at the end of the day is if you're bringing information to the perspective, the prospect, and you have information like a just listed call or a just sold call, or if they're canceled, if you just come from the perspective of like, hey, I want to help this person, and you have that genuine conversation with somebody, the chances are they're going to turn around, even if they're on the do not call list, they're going to be like, hey, I'm on the do not call list. It's if you say, hey, my name is Rich with XYZ Realty, they're gonna be like, oh, I'm on the do not call list. I am sorry. You know what? My apologies. Normally my information gets scrubbed properly. I'll take you off the list. And then you move on to the next call, realistically. But I'm not pro to sit here and say call the do not call list. But at the end of the day, that's everybody's pickup. That's their hang up. Why they do not want to pick up the phone. That's why the phone does get heavier throughout the day because of that one little fallacy. So yes, people are going to say that, but listen, you want to talk to motivated people on the phone. And if somebody's going to say that to you, they're not motivated. You got to be like in your head, like we say it all day on our chats. Next, or hey, listen, this person is a no. The next one's going to bring me into a yes, and then you just keep having a positive mindset because the prospecting game is having a very strong mindset. Because listen, if somebody else is having a bad day on the other side of that phone, don't let that affect you for your next call, because that next call could be a $10,000 check, a $20,000 check, a $5,000 check, right? So you can't get yourself out of that realm when like from 7 a.m. to 8 o'clock before I start the phones, I'm prepping my mind just to kind of go into this battle. So by the time it's going to happen, sometimes it's the first call, and I hope every day it's always the first call because you get the jitters out, and then the rest of the day is going to be great. It's kind of the worst when it's like 2-3 hours into prospecting, and you get that one really nice person on the other end that's cursing you off and telling you they're going to call the police and so on and so forth. But guys, that happens, I promise, once out of every like month if I'm lucky. It might even happen every 2 months where you actually get somebody that's really like aggravated. So I laugh because that's everybody's fear, and if you kind of take that fear and you just kind of just go towards the goal, you're kind of going to achieve within that part of the business.
All right, so let's follow that up with, prospecting is only for beginners. But what I want to do, Richard, is I want to take what you said and what Dean said and kind of build a bridge. So whether you're new or newer or seasoned, you don't want to chase the transaction. You want to build authentic relationships and know that we're here to serve and we're here to solve. While we're salespeople, we don't have to sell. We got to solve. If we solve, we're going to get paid at the end of the day. But how
Yeah.
do you build that bridge mentally? Like, what is the mindset that you go into it with that we can teach others here that may be afraid of cold calling or maybe afraid of picking up the phone or are more introverted to help them understand that, hey, that next call may get you paid?
So if I can share a little bit of a story here for everyone to kind of hopefully relate to. I was taking a walk with my wife about 6, 7 years ago, and I asked her at that time, that was literally when I was just getting going with learning my scripts and dialogues. I was really trying to understand, what is this all about, right? Like, how do I don't want to sound scripted. I don't want to sound sleazy. I don't want to do all these different things, right? We want to, be professional. So I decided, I say, Ashley, can you be can you be a FISBO for me? And I'm going to be the agent. I want to practice on you. Okay. So, and so I started my pitch, to her, asking the questions about the for sale by owner. She looks over at me and she says, "Is this how we're going to pay our bills? You sounding like that?" Like, legitimately, she was like, "You're gonna have to get another job if you don't get better at this. Like, we cannot support the life that we want to build for each other." So the point is that I had to come up with a framework in my mind to get to your question, Ray, hopefully. And please circle back if I'm not answering it more directly. But I think we need to level the playing field on looking at everyone as no one's on a pedestal. Okay, your prospects, people that you're calling, no one is up here above you, even if you don't have experience in this business, because you do. As soon as you have your license and you're getting hopefully trained by the right people, and you're in the right environment, you are the professional. And so what helped me get better at my scripts as I was learning them, and then I'll go into how we both practiced our scripts and dialogues to really internalize it. So then we just became like, it was second nature. You could wake me up at 3 a.m. and I could recite the listing presentation as an example. And so, but one of the things is I had to look at everyone like a toddler. Okay, I know this sounds very like, whatever, but this is the truth. I looked at everyone like, if anyone has kids here, okay, I have 3 kids, right? I knew even back then, I said to myself, man, like, they are acting like toddlers to us or to me. Like, their responses, they're like, "I don't want to work with an agent. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that." It's like, sounds like a toddler, right? So when I had to put that framework in my mind as I'm calling and be like, well, what do you do? So how do you respond then? How do you react to a toddler? Okay. You don't say to them, "Oh, what are you saying? Like, well, you're just a mean person." That would be weird to like a 4 or 5 year old. Why would you do that? Right. You say, "Hey, listen," and then you start to like have a normal conversation, try to help them keep on moving to get to what they want, a drink of water, some food, whatever, go play, whatever it is. That's literally what I had to put my mindset in to make me at least kind of remove this like disarmament of all this pressure of trying to, when I make a cold call or I make a prospecting call, to try to actually understand, like, this is not like as high stakes as we think it is. We have to get this toddler brain out of the way. And if we sound really good but have genuine conversation and conversational skills, then you're going to be just fine. And so, and that happens over time. And so, look, I hope that answers, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's a story that I hope that resonates, because it resonated, it was real for me.
Yeah, I love it, Dean. I guess my first question is, has your wife heard any conversations lately, and is she okay with them?
Yes, yes. So luckily, after that, I really buckled down, and yes, now it's 7 years later, and we live in the town that we want, all from prospecting, by the way. We live in the best school system in New Jersey over here, one of the best, and we're very fortunate. Let's just say we have investments now, all because of that confrontation. Now, if you don't have a lot of confrontation in your life, that's also a red flag to me. You need to have a peer group around you. Like, maybe this is the group, whatever it is. You need to have feedback, because if you're not getting feedback in your circles, you're just going like, "Oh, you're so great. You're so great. You're so great." But the one thing that prospecting does, that I have to say, that Rich and I think vibe on, is that we get so much feedback, because that rejection is real when you're making your rounds, even to your database or wherever, that you have no choice but to develop into somebody that can take the hits and can be open for all of this information that comes to you. And frankly, we're better investors for it. We're better agents for it. We're better people for it, and better husbands to our wives. So, and fathers. So like, it really develops everything. And I think for us and for me especially, it's like been a kind of like an ethos. It's like I didn't want to just make all this money and spend all this money marketing wise, Zillow and all this other. I did that when I was on a team before in the first 7 years of my career. I was doing that. I was chomping on Zillow leads all day long. However, there came a point where I was not growing as fast as I wanted to or in the way that I wanted to, and prospecting in a very methodical way. If you follow what we do and what we teach, in phone words and stuff like that. I mean, listen, that's literally what, and made sense for us to proceed. So yes, so 7 years later, Ray, we're fine. We're still together.
I love it. Okay, so that leads us into prospecting is just a numbers game. Like, what does that even mean?
It means that every person that you're going to speak to, not every person is going to be a yes, right? So we were taught, going back into, I think everybody should always have a coach, right? A coach is always going to look at your numbers. A coach is always going to look at what you're doing, and they're always going to keep you on track. But the numbers game specifically is if you want to do, let's say 24 transactions in a year, right? How many strangers do you need to speak to just on the law of numbers, averages, every single day in order to achieve your goals? It's actually a lot lower than most people think. You want to do 24 transactions in a year, that's just 5 strangers per day. And I think all of us can, if you really just take it down to the mathematics, you can speak to 5 strangers a day. And in that, you have to also add 5 follow-ups a day, right? But those are people you've started creating some relationships with. So when they say it's just a numbers game, it's very simple. Hey, listen, my name is Rich with XYZ Realty, and I noticed your property came off the market. I'm just curious to know, when do you plan on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling your property? No, I'm not interested. Click. All right, next person. Hey, say the same thing. And all of a sudden, yeah, I am interviewing new real estate agents. And then some people are gonna be like, oh my God, they say yes. And then you're gonna fail on that one because you just didn't, know your scripts, know your dialogues, and your confidence was low. But you'll learn real quick when you get that first yes and then you fumble it, you'll learn that not to do that. But let's say they say yes. And then guess what? It was like, okay, how many people did I speak to? So I got my yes. Oh, it was 40 people. So then now okay, I need to speak to 40 people to get an appointment, or I need to speak to 40 people to get a conversation. So long story short is you just know the numbers and you just take the law of averages. So if you want to do 24 transactions, you back out the math. Okay, what does that mean? That means, okay, how many working days you're going to have in a year? Okay, most people are going to have around 240 working days. So you take that, which equates to about 10 months. So you take the number of transactions, you take the number of months you're going to work, times the number of days you're going to work, and it's going to filter all the way down to the 5 contacts. So you want to do 50 transactions, just simply reverse engineer it backwards. I think 50 is, if I recall correctly, I think it's like 24 strangers a day or 20 strangers a day, something like that. But it's just a law of numbers. So we're big. I don't know about Dean, but I'm 100% big in tracking every measure because I want to know what I am doing so I can just replicate what I'm doing to be able to achieve the goals that I'm looking for. I have, you can't see it's over there, but I have my vision board that's over there. I have my affirmations that's over there. I have every analytic possible, how many listed appointments I won on this year, how many, I don't do any buyers, but like how many people said no to me, how many conversations that I had, how many leads I have, how much am I worth per hour talking on the phone, how much are my leads come down. Like I have everything down, funneled to a science, because then what's going to happen when you know your numbers, if somebody walks into your office and said, hey, do I have a minute? And it's going to take an hour, you're going to think in your head, wow, I'm worth X dollars an hour. I don't have a minute. So you're going to be even more glued to your goal when you know your numbers. And you're going to see, once you really start looking at a large scale and you just really take in, hey, listen, I need to talk to the next person. I need to fall in love with talking to the next person. And when I talk about falling in love with talking to people, I mean everybody. You fall in love with talking to your fellow realtors, because you never know when you're going to need them on another transaction. You fall in love with talking to your mortgage reps, your attorneys, your title people, complete strangers, renters, buyers, sellers. It doesn't matter who you're speaking to. You always have to level yourself. You always have to bring that person to your level. It's never the other way around. Like, you never come in like, oh, I'm having a bad day. People don't want to hear that, right? But at the end of the day, if that other person on the other end is like that, then there's an opportunity for you to look inside and figure out how can you bring them up or bring something positive to that person. Because what's going to happen, you ever hear that compound effect? You're doing good for somebody else, something good is going to happen to you as you go on. So that kind of goes back into your mindset, just having a very, very strong mindset in respect to the law of numbers, and going to your next appointment, going to your next call, going to your next anything, and you'll see like your numbers will soar through the skies.
So Richard, let's talk about that for a minute, because I think it's easy to get lost in, pardon my French, but like bullshit metrics. So quality over quantity. What is your philosophy and take and direction to somebody just starting a cold call?
So anybody, if you never picked up a phone in your life, it is not about the like quantity that you're going to go. Like, listen, if you can sell 100 houses a year, that's fantastic. That means you have skills, right? I don't ever look at, hey, I want to make $500,000 a year. I want to make $100,000 a year. I don't look at that net number, because that doesn't necessarily mean you have any skills, because you could just do one transaction that netted you 100 grand. It's possible, right? So I would never look at that one person that does one transaction, or that one person who does 25 or 50. I look at them and be like, hey, listen, you got skills, you have discipline, and you're able to show that you can kind of move down the mark. So to answer your question, to a beginner, it's focus on the person that you're speaking to at that moment in time. Exhaust that conversation. So many of us just wait, ask a question, and then the person's answering the question, and then you're ready to think about second, third, fourth question down the road. And as soon as they say, you kind of like interrupt them, and then you ask your next question, and that person's like, well, this person wasn't listening to me. So when you have a prospect in front of you, just ask every possible question you can ask. And if you ask a question and you are the type of person, I was a speed talker. So unfortunately, I would ask that question, I would be like 5 steps ahead, and I missed out on the first opportunity. So my coach was like, hey, listen, when you ask a question, you're going to drink water. Because now all of a sudden that water is going to stop me from saying something. So I would drink a lot of water. So I would just drink a water because it would force me to not say anything. And then I would listen to what they said back to me. And then I would come up with a solution. Because you said it earlier in the beginning, is when you're talking to somebody, they have an issue. So you need to figure out what that issue is. And the way you figure out that issue is you ask a lot of questions. And by asking a lot of questions, you're going to get a lot of answers. And by the answers, you're going to figure out if there's a way that you have a solution for them. And if you don't have a solution for them, you need to think a little bit bigger. It's not like, hey, we're going to toss this lead to the side and we're never going to deal with them. Some, yes. But if it's somebody where it's like, hey, I'm not interested right now because I'm retiring in 6 months or a year. Well, hey, that's a follow-up. You always have to be looking at how to build your pipeline, how to build. Hey, listen, Mr. Seller, XYZ, when are you retiring? I'm retiring in June. Hey, is it okay if I reach out to you starting in April? I want to start building a relationship with you. I want to figure out to make sure everything is going correctly for your retirement. Hey, I deal with a lot of people, solution, right? I deal with a lot of people that I have retired, and this is what we did, XYZ, to help, how to help it, and create that plan with them. So then you follow up with them, you start doing that, and then once June comes around, they're ready to list the property with you because you provide the solution, you provide it. So if you have like 100 prospects that you're going to call, don't look at I have to call 100. Look at, I'm going to call these 10 or these 5 people, and anybody that I pick up, I'm going to try to build, and I'm going to build a relationship with you. I'm going to exhaust this. And if, you always have to ask, like, I think it's like 7 or 8 no's in a conversation before you get an appointment, but just continue to ask. Be like, hey, would you be able to meet today at 5 o'clock? No, I can't meet today at 5 o'clock. Don't ask why. Just be, all right, yeah, 5 o'clock is no good, but hey, listen, I really have this. And the best thing for us to do is really like, let's look at Saturday at noon and just keep asking for an appointment. And eventually you're just gonna get it by the law of numbers. And Dean will tell you, if the first no is as strong as the last no, then they're really serious. They're no. But if it's like no, And then the next one's like, well, not really. And it's like, not really turns into, oh, I don't know. Like, and it starts changing like that. That means you have them on the hook because you were providing a solution for them. So don't focus on the quantity, focus on that, because that one sale could lead you to multiple. I call it the spider web effect. You help that person knows somebody else, that person knows somebody else, and you can get 2, 3, 4, 5 deals out of one person.
I love it. That was fantastic, Richard. Okay.
Right.
Richard, Dean, do you guys want to share anything else before we open it up to
Can I
some
just
Q&A?
share one more thing
Yeah,
about
please.
everything Richard just said that I think I want everyone to realize, right? I think there is sometimes a stigma of what Richard just said, right? Or and when it comes to when you hear the first no, you just don't get off the phone and you keep going, right? And you hear people on social media, you hear people on YouTube or wherever, and you hear this pushiness almost like that is like there. So when we coined the term in our phone word group, we said, listen, this is about being po-aggressive. And what that is being polite and aggressive. You need to nudge. Again, if you guys have kids, it's just like nudging them to get them to be open to an idea, to do the right thing for them to get what they want in the time that they want. So let me give you a quick example before, Ray, we go onto the next chapter here, right? Is that there was one question that completely changed our prospecting, my prospecting business. And that was, what is the biggest benefit? So if someone says to you, what is the biggest benefit? Now we're getting more tactical, but we can go back to the more contextual stuff. But what is the biggest benefit to you even making a move? What is the biggest benefit for you waiting for $1 million for this property, right? And so that is a very polite, but kind of very direct way, hopefully, to get them to open up to you to say, look, well, my benefit is X, Y, and Z, right? And because like, if you're not understanding the truth, and we need to also focus on, if there's anything I would share with anybody, one thing that really was very hard for me, because the way I speak, or I used to speak, was a lot more either or. Hey, well, if we could do this, would you want to do this? Would you want to do that? And I just kept talking. Okay. Telling is not selling. Selling is asking a lot of deep questions to lead the prospect down a path where they want to eventually go. And you are their leader. So lead them to the water.
Very, very well said. And I would say this, like, outside of that, like, if anybody's like me, like when I hear speakers and everybody talk, is like figure out like where the credibility is long story short is like Dean and I had like the most identical past, but we didn't know each other until about 8 years ago, 10 years ago. I don't remember how long ago now.
Yeah.
And we both worked on Wall Street. We both, worked for different companies. We were Remax for about 10 years together. And then now we're at our current brokerage, right? And the one thing is that we successfully did was we came into the coaching path, which we were bred from what's called Mike Fair organization. They taught us the scripts, they taught us the dialogue. I have a mindset coach. I have an NLPL coach, an NPL coach. I have and my regular one-on-one coach. So like, I'm a really big believer in having like the right people that's like in the right path for yourself to make you soar. And between Dean and I, we have millions and millions of dollars in GCI commissions that we both made. I came from, the first year in the business doing 27 transactions all the way up to almost 150 transactions. And, then I took the step back and now we just kind of teach, but, and it's still producing at a very high level. Don't forget that. But long story short is like, we recognize the pattern over the last 15 years, and the pattern never changes, right? People want to be sold to at the end of the day. And his pro-aggressive side of it is people need an aggressive realtor at the end of the day, because that's how they're going to know that you're going to get the job done, right? Versus somebody that's passively sitting back, waiting for their phone to ring. Somebody who's passively, you being an aggressive realtor is going to show that particular prospect that you're going to get the job done, and you're going to get the job done by no ends meet, period. And when you're able to prospect, you're able to say, hey, listen, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom property for $500,000. You might just pick up the phone and call every neighbor. And guess what? Now you're going to get a listing, plus you have a buyer, or you're going to go door knock, plus you have a buyer, having all these mechanics is going to make you a lethal real estate agent. And in 2025, more than ever, to your point earlier, is yes, there's AI, there's technology, there's everything out there. But at the end of the day, you're going to show up, you're going to be dressed sharp, you're going to be dressed, you know, ladies going to have your makeup on, and you're going to show up, you're going to give a handshake, you're going to look at people in your eye, you're going to in their eyes, and you're going to have a genuine conversation because you know how to do that. If you just take all that in a small little wins, and you can just do it on a small basic one person a day, you guys are going to see dramatic change in your business.
So I want to say two things. That is dependent upon the runway you give yourself, right? Meaning don't expect results in 30 days, but if you take a longer approach and say, hey, this is a 12-month game, I'm just starting, here are my milestones, it's way less pressure and way better quality and way more growth faster, right? It's the whole slow, smooth, smoothest, fast strategy.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to go back to one
happens
thing.
over 30 days.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I want to go back to one thing Dean said. Context versus tactical. Can we give everybody three things to take away that are tactical before we go into Q&A and breakout rooms?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. So I'll give you the 5 core seller questions. Would that be technical enough?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so this is what I boiled down to. So all the years of coaching and that we've done in everything, this is for our teams and organization that we profess. Like, if you have someone on the phone, if you do not get the answer to these 5 questions on both buyer and seller, then, and by the way, you can flip-flop them. They are interchangeable, okay, for both buyer and seller. But I'll start with the seller core 5 questions. Where are you planning on moving to? Okay. How soon do you want to make this happen by? So your timeline. Ideally speaking, how soon do you want to make this all happen by? Third is, what is the biggest benefit to you selling this property now? Okay. The fourth one is, what price are you expecting, or what do you think your property is worth in today's market? And number 5 is, okay, this is one about being like actually having like the right agent. So do you have an agent that you're already working with, or would you be open to a second opinion? Now, I will say that, now let me give you just like a subset of that. So like, has anyone ever had just when you're calling a seller and they don't give you the actual price, if you ask them, hey, what are you expecting on the price? Has anyone ever had that before? Okay. And they say, you're the professional, you tell me, right? We get that sometimes, right? So let me give you a second tactical solution to that problem, right? So we say, oh, well, this is what I say. I say, so here, Ray, do you mind role playing with me? Can you be the seller, but don't give me the price?
Okay.
Okay. Say, so Ray, so what price are you expecting to get on your property today?
So should I just not answer, or should
Just
I?
don't answer. Just like be like, oh, you're the professional, whatever. Say whatever you want.
Yeah, you're the professional. You tell me. That's why you're here.
I love that. Thank you so much, Ray. And I can't wait to go over all the comparables to really come to a solution for you that makes sense for you and your wife. So, Ray, let me ask you, do you have any minimum expectations that you would like to receive on this property?
Well, you know, we put a lot of money into renovating it. We did the kitchens, we did the bathrooms, we did the landscaping, and, you know, we think our house is one of the higher valued homes on the block.
Okay, gotcha. So, and when I see it, that's why I'm very excited to see this. And after I do the walkthrough, so I'm definitely looking forward to this. So, hey, so let me ask you, Ray, did you down the block? I don't know if you saw that house, 124 Main Street. Did you see that sale?
Yeah, I saw that sale.
Yeah, they ended up getting 1.3 million for that. How do you feel about that price?
A little low. It's very comparable to our home. I feel like there's the value there.
Done. I now got the price out of you without ever telling me, because I asked how you feel about that price. So that would be the second tactical thing, right? So you kind of go through these layers, and there's different ways to get information out. Now, why would we get information out of anybody? You know, I know some people are, you know, they get like all these, oh, I just want to meet the people, and then I'll talk to them in person. You can do that. But I would argue, does anyone know what the NAR stat is of the conversion to listing appointments to listings taken is nationally? Anyone know? Guess what? It's 20% as of 2024. That means 2 out of every 10 sellers they meet, they are converting to a listing for them. But guess what? I work the same amount of time that 20% person agent does, but my ratio this year was actually 85% personally. Okay, now what does that mean? That means that we did the same amount of work, but I'm making quadruple the amount of money that agent is, or the average agent, let's say in America, is. Now, why? Because of skills and knowing, obviously, like your time is very valuable. That stat like astounded me. So anyway, that's why we really profess like skills and asking the right questions. How do you ask these right questions to get to a result that everyone like is looking for? So
I love it.
And
That's
I,
fantastic.
and I would say, just for myself, just to make it kind of quick, when you're on an appointment, whether it's a buyer or a seller, the most tactical thing that you can do is probably the most obvious, is literally ask for the business. Like, hey, do you want me to handle the sale for you? Or, hey, let's get what you want and the time that you want. Won't that be great? And literally ask. So I've tested this out and I've asked sellers, I was like, why'd you go with me? And countless times I heard, well, you're the only one that asked for the business. So if you want something tactical, or you're on an appointment, it's great. You want to do your report, you want to show your market advertising, however your appointments go, but simply ask them, hey, listen, would you mind putting me to work? And then they're just going to sit there and ponder and just don't say anything. Just wait for them to make up the decision. And they're going to give you an objection, and you got to learn how to handle the objections different, but just know your 3 to 5 core objections, what you're going to get right there and then, because an objection at that moment in time is them testing you to see how you're going to handle it, to see if they actually want to sign the contract, because it's going to give them confidence that you're actually going to be able to sell their property. And on the flip side, on the buy side, is when you're with a particular buyer, now with the whole NAR lawsuit and changes, you are going to have an agreement, but at the end of the property, it's going to say, hey, you said you want a 3-bedroom, you want a 2-bathroom, you want it over here. Are you ready to put the offer in today, right now? And just literally ask them to do that. And if they say no, ask them why. And they're going to tell you, I didn't like X, Y, Z. Okay, well, the next property we're going to see, I make sure it doesn't have X, Y, Z. So then you go to the next property, you show them, and then you try to close for the sale again. So literally, it's very simple. Just ask for the business.
yeah.
I love it. That's
Ray, can I
fantastic.
say one more thing? And
Yeah,
then
of course.
as far as a
Yeah.
tactical thing, just
Yeah.
because I just want to get this out. Okay, so I was told this years ago for myself, because I asked one of the biggest producers in my market. He's making 2 million a year, like massive amount of business. Personally, by the way, he didn't have a big team either, by the way. Okay, and so I asked him, like, look, man, I want, we all know why we're doing this bit. I said, and I said to him, it's like, hey, listen, I'm a younger kid. Like, I'm trying to get into this. This is like at the same time my wife had that conversation, right? The whole FISBO thing. And I'm like, what can I do? What activities can I do day in and day out on a daily basis that I know I'm making progress? Because I think that we fail to realize that this is not, I know AI and crypto and all these things, right? It's like an instant, like Amazon, instant. You get a package like the same day, right? Guess what? The business and the mindset is complete opposite as you are building it. It does take time to raise point earlier, but this is how, and so my question was, how do I solve my production problem? How do I actually make real money? Everyone's got a different definition of real money. And what he said was, he's like, look, Dean, you do this for 90 days, I guarantee you're going to have the best year of your entire career. And so I implore you, we're right now, November 14th of 2024, you have the next 90 days. If you wanted to do this, what I'm about to say, and your production's going to explode, you have the best late first quarter, second quarter of your entire career, most likely, if you're in production 100%. And that is 8 to 12, you prospect for business. That includes lead follow-up. 8 to 12, 5 days a week. Forget about weekends. I'm not even including weekends. If you just do that and you are committed, not interested, but committed to prospecting and lead follow-up between 8 and 12, no distractions. Don't check social media. I know what you guys are all doing. You're making your call, and I see it on our Zoom, and they're like, oh, well, they said this about my comment. Okay, guys, there's a time and place. It's social media marketing. Marketing is a pull. What you're doing with prospecting is you're pushing this way, but not being pushy, right? Remember, progressive. So my point is, 8 to 12 for 90 days straight, 5 days a week. You do that without distraction, you will be having the best year financially of your life. I guarantee it.
And don't forget, if you want those results, you got to put the 4 hours in. But if you're a newbie and you want to get started, just pick a time, 9 to 10, 9:30 to 10:30, 9:30 to 10. Just get yourself committed to something, and you'll watch your numbers change over 90 days of whatever time, whatever your goal is. So you have to look at the other side, Dean.
Yeah, you guys are right on par. That's what we teach inside our coaching is 4 hours, 5 days a week will change your life if you just show up.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Debbie, I know we are like 13 minutes to the hour. Can we do a quick Q&A and then hit a breakout room? Okay.
Yes, we can do the Q&A. I don't know if we'll get to the breakout room or not, but yes.
Okay. All right. So guys, let's unmute, ask questions, share comments, share stories. Does anybody else's wife or husband tell them they suck?
I love it.
Trust me. I've had similar conversations.
I think, Ray, I beg to believe that probably more husbands have heard that from their wives than the wives have heard that from their husbands. Just saying. I don't know. I know I've said that to my husband. He's not a realtor, but I know I've said, like, you need to get some more clients, sir.
Well, where is he? How come he's not on this call? This applies to any business.
He's playing baseball in Florida with some old timer guys.
Yeah.
I hope he gets some clients. Guys, no questions. Richard, Dean killed it. So there's no questions. You guys have all the answers you need?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This for speakers. Do you think any bad time or slow time during the year exists for real estate? And if it is, how we can work in that time
I mean,
to get more leads?
My answer is no. Like you should be. I mean, for us, or at least for me, can't speak, but I'm working now more than ever because I feel like after Labor Day, that's when the realtors kind of go to sleep. They already made their money for the year. So now September, October, November, December, January, February, I just take the market share. This is always my best time of the year because it's actually easy. Like I'm not getting the objection. You're the 30th or 50th person to call me today. I'm like, oh, you're the third or fifth person. Well, that's fantastic odds actually. So then I'm just gonna crush it during those times. But to my personal opinion, is that's just a mindset tweak for yourself. Is just when you're be on and be able to work no matter when it is, whether it's you're working from 9 a.m. to 12 or you're working from 12 to 4 and you have a couple hours to yourself. I would just work whenever you have the ability, but I think now more than ever it's the best time to take market share from all these realtors that are we'll use the word relaxing.
Now, are you, if I can just go on that, are you newer to the business?
I'm new, kind of new,
Okay.
because I did it part-time for like 20 years.
Okay.
Now I'm on full-time.
So my suggestion with anyone who's newer, now newer could be, like you said, part-time for a long time and now you're full-time. Anyone under 2 years in the business, let's say full-time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're under 2 years, this is what I would suggest. I would much rather see agents focus on intentionality and being present during the hours you're going to call before we start talking about where to get your edge in the day to make those said calls. So I hope that makes sense. Like, I mean, it's like you're being present and not being distracted is what's caused. This is why. By the way, you realize that like social media, all this stuff, do you know what the one commodity that they all are optimizing for is? Attention. Attention is worth more than money. So then during prospecting, that's why that was the chosen way up until the last 10 years, because that's, if you were focused, you killed it. And right now it's like a novelty to prospect for business. Forget it, man. So I would focus on your intentionality and being super present And that's why I forget about the times. If you call from like literally, by the way, so someone said in the chat here, when is it too early to call? I mean, listen, every market's different. For me, my people come on the market, like they're starting to prospect and I'm getting competition around 8 o'clock, 8:15 in the morning. So I actually start my calls, my expired and FISBO calls around 7:45, 7:50 every single morning. All right. So that's usually
I
when
have
I
a
start.
couple of questions.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. So, what if your lead comes in like, if you're getting leads from your team and it comes in like 4 or 5 in the morning, should I call then, or am I just I'm supposed to wait until like 8 o'clock in the morning? I know the idea is they told us you're supposed to call within 5 minutes, but is that what I want to do at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Do you want to do that at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Should I?
Hey, I'm at Starbucks. What do you want? Yeah, make the call.
I mean, you can. I mean, we're more by business by design. So I would say that the earliest opportunistic time that you can call is probably when I would do it, because most agents are not going to call at 4, 5, 6 in the morning. But I would probably call if you're end up working around 7:30, 7:15 in the morning. Probably. Yeah.
And what about follow-ups? I don't have a problem with speaking with anyone, but I tend to forget to follow up. Like yesterday, I know an hour looking for one particular name because I found the house I think that she and her husband wanted, but for some reason I couldn't find her phone number. So I'm like, what is going on? So follow-up is my issue. What is the best thing, a best way to, or what technique do you use when you're following up with potential clients?
How long have you been in the business for?
I just started full time September. I've been part time for 2 years.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I just want to just hit this point home. The most difficult thing, challenging thing, I think, for a lot of newer agents is not knowing what's a lead and what's not a lead. Okay. Your ability to sort through. So let me give you one little quick line. If you could write this in the chat, Ray, that'd be great. Okay, amateurs convince, professionals sort. You need to be a professional sorter of those said leads. So what you think is a lead might be a different definition than what I think is a lead, right? So that's why I go back to the 5 core seller questions or 5 core buyer questions. There are certain things that if I don't get a certain answers on a phone call, they're not a lead to me, and I'm not going to follow up with them. And frankly, if someone just is talking with you, let's say, and they're having a great conversation with you, and they sound great. Oh, I want to follow up. I want to keep talking to these people because no one else is talking to me. Guess what? You're going to keep on losing money because they're not actually in the buying window. You need to lead follow up is, and this happens over time, okay? That you'll learn the buying windows of your prospects. So if, as an example, let me give you an example. I work in a very tenant heavy market, a lot of landlords, a lot of tenants. I'm in a vertical market right across from New York City here in New Jersey. And one of the biggest issues is the challenge that they haven't rented for a year and they can't sell it. They can't do anything. They can't change hands. Even if they put it on the market, it's not going to make any sense, right? So the buying window for landlord deals, I know just behaviorally, is going to be usually between 4 to 5 months prior to that lease ending. So I make a note of that. No matter what I talk about now, no matter how good I sound now, it's not going to matter what I say until they're in that buying window for the maximum effectiveness for you to close that prospect down.
I would say, Phyllis, what company you're with?
I'm with Virtual Properties in Atlanta.
Okay, I don't know. I was gonna say most companies have like a CRM system that they offer. So
We have the Sync system. Well, I had KV Core and we switched over to Sync. So I'm trying to learn a whole new system, and well, I'm trying to learn the system to begin with, learn actually how to effectively use a CRM to begin with. So that's really what it is. And so I've taken some classes and also take some classes with our FMLS here in Georgia. So that's helped a lot because that's helped me with learning how to farm. So that was a good thing. So I just took that last week. So for me, it's just getting all my, I guess, ducks in a row and learning who I need to call after I initially start calling these people.
Okay, so I'm going to interject for just 1 minute. Jackie, will you unmute? Because Jackie was messaging me about the FTC rules for phone calls and timing. So Jackie, I hope hopefully you're unmuted. Will you just share with us, first of all, what that is?
Yeah, so it depends on where your leads are coming from. I just want everyone to be careful. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a worrywart for those things. And I know that not all realtors follow those rules, but there are rules for telemarketers, and for sales calls, realtors technically do fall into that depending on how the lead has been generated. So sometimes if a lead has to click on, a waiver or something like that, they may be waiving those rules. But generally, according to the FTC, you shouldn't be soliciting calls anytime before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. at night. And the fines are pretty significant. Like, it's not like they're going after realtors all the time. Like, I haven't heard of a huge, onslaught of going after realtors for that. But I just want to make sure that everyone's careful. And I would just suggest, ask your broker in charge, get their advice as to what the company wants you to do. Do your own research, call your commission, see if they have rules, because there are rules. And like I said, if the lead clicks on something that waives those rights, then it may not be relevant, but you don't know where that lead sources come from. So I'm just a big believer in being super careful. It doesn't mean that people don't go outside the box. I just want all of you to be aware that you're professionals. And as professionals, we need to be aware of those rules. And also, I would just say, on a personal, comfortableness for me, I wouldn't want to receive a call at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. And I think that, you have to think about what the other person on the other end is going to think about that, about an agent calling them at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. You may lose a client because you call them that early. I don't know. I would maybe send a text if I had to versus making a call, but it's just me. So we all have to make decisions that we're comfortable for ourselves. I just want to put that out there as something to be aware of. So
Jackie, thank you. So Jackie does have a bar license, and so we just want to make sure that we mention that. So,
and I am not giving you legal advice because I am only licensed in Florida. So I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm just letting you know that you need to find out the answer for yourself and your broker.
Excellent.
Right.
Thank you, Jackie. Yeah,
Hey, Debbie,
we
I want to
always
get to
wanna...
Jose's question before we wrap up.
Please do.
Thank
Jose,
you.
you're up, buddy.
Yeah. I would like to have a rate. I don't know if it's possible. I already made some calculations in order to have a plan of a rate to convert the leads into a deal. So what did you suggest? I understand. Suppose that the lead is already a guy who is interested on a property. So what do you suggest to consider to have a plan? Because I already did some numbers, and probably it is like 1,500 on a year. But I would like to compare because I'm in the Riviera Maya in Mexico. So I would like to understand also how could be a rate there to consider to convert a lead into a deal.
I would say that, so you're asking, you have a client that you've been working with, you got some information, and you want to be able to get a contract signed to be able to get paid, essentially?
Yes, I mean, probably it depends on the source, of course, but suppose that I have some ads already running and I get leads from those ads already with some questions about budget, property, and all of that. What could be a suggested rate to convert those on a deal?
Well, that comes down just personally to your skills. But if you have a lead that comes in, and let's say you have a communication with that one particular lead, I would make sure they're vetted first. So I have our partners such as our mortgage rep. If they're not pre-approved, I move them over to get pre-approved. And then once the lender gets them approved, they move them back over to us. And then once they're back to us, We have a detailed what they're looking for. And then I always tell my team is when you have a client, especially a buyer, is you have to always be in front of them. So you have to know exactly what they're looking for, and don't wait for them to send you a property. You should be proactively say, hey, listen, I have this, this came in my company. Do you want to see it? Or, hey, this one just came on the market this morning. It matches the criteria. What time today can you go see it? It's always just putting yourself out there and listening to exactly what the client wants. But unfortunately, that's going to come down to just having mass quantity if you're trying to do it on a daily basis, because you're going to need to be having 5, 10, 15 conversations with different prospective buyers. And then just the law of numbers, you're going to get probably like 1 or 2 of those that are actually going to turn into a contract if you work it effectively. So I would say just listen to, make sure they're pre-approved, make sure they follow your specific guidelines of what a client is. So that's your personal standard. And if they meet those criteria, just make sure that you're being proactive and going to them, not the other way. And it could be simple: a phone call, leave a message; a text message, that's fine. An email, I wouldn't really necessarily email, but I would just make sure that you're thinking of them. And even if you don't have anything and you spoke to them Monday and now it's Friday, hey, Jose, I was just thinking about you. I've been looking on the market every day. It's still nothing that meets the criteria. Let's see what Monday brings us, just so that you know they're thinking of you. And then over the weekend at 2 o'clock in the morning, when they're looking at properties, they'll send it to you versus just click on, hey, I want to see this one on Zillow, and then it's going to go to somebody else. So I just think you need to fall into that criteria, just help.
Okay, and just one quick, on your experience, how many touch probably you will say that a lead is not a qualified lead? I mean,
so they have to fall into, so we pre-qualify every seller, every buyer, every renter. So if they don't meet our standards, we do not work with them. So our first standard is let's say they're calling in. All right. So they call in, you pick up the phone, and they don't give you your name. Well, if they don't give us the name, that falls into our criteria. How do I know they're going to be serious? But let's say you get their name, you get their email address, you have their phone number. Are they pre-approved? How long have they been on the market for? So have they been, day 1 on the market, or they've been on the market for a year? Have they seen any houses with any prior realtors in the past? That contradicts the first answer, because sometimes people lie. So they say, oh, today's day 1. And then I ask them the question, well, have you seen any properties? Yeah, I've been looking at properties at open house, and I had this one realtor. It's just going to come out in a different format. How soon do you need to be in your property? And then if they're calling in a specific area, why you want to move into this particular area? So if they have friends, they have family members, coworkers, it's close to work, get all the information why they're particularly looking for there. And as long as they answer all of our questions, and I have information now I can take and go look for a property, and I can come back to them, then we work with them. But if they're like, hey, I want to go see this house, and they're not pre-approved, well, then it's a different conversation you have to have. Well, listen, I'll get you connected with the lender, or feel free to reach out to your lender. I need to first know that you can afford this property. They're like, well, what do you mean I can't afford this? Well, that's not what I'm saying. I would hate to show you a house for $500,000, but you're only pre-approved up to 400. Now you wasted your time. And always put it to them like they're wasting their time, not necessarily you're wasting your time. And you have to put it to them like, hey, I don't want you wasting your time. I just want to make sure that you're qualified. Well, I have a great job. Oh, hey, listen, unfortunately, you can have a great job. You can make $200,000 a year. But if you write off $180,000 and you're showing you to make 20 grand, unfortunately, it might not work. So I always just make sure that my professionals do their job. And I just have standards. So the standards for us is just questions before any of our agents are going to go out and they're going to go work. They're going to go work on this particular buyer, especially spend their gas, their time, their energy, and then for nothing. So I just think that you need to work on standards and just prerequisites pretty much before you'll take the next step with anybody. And then that's how
really quick. I'll just say the progressive way of saying, why do you want to buy in this area? Because why could be a little bit more direct is, what is the biggest benefit to you buying in this area? Again, going back to that framework.
First question. Yeah. Okay.
Don't be scared to ask questions. The questions are going to help you out, because who knows? Like before the buyer agency agreement, their cousin could be a realtor, their mom could be a realtor, somebody's going to be a realtor, and then you're going to go show them a house, and then they're going to put the offer with somebody else. That's not going to happen just as much now, but like you want to protect your time. So you rather ask all these questions up front, and if it's a no, you just go to the next person. Ask all the questions. If it's a no, you go to the next person. And eventually you're going to weed out all these people, and you're going to find your 1 to 3 or 5 people that you want to work with that are going to buy a property with you in the next 30 to 60 or 90 days. And then now you have your personal pipeline. So it just goes back to qualifying people and making sure that that you can have, like I call it A, B, C buckets. You know, if I only have 1 or 2 people in the A bucket, then I go into my B bucket, see if anybody I can move from B to the A because of situations. Maybe the rent is not up for 6 months, so they need to buy, but I'm not going to be really too aggressive. And maybe I can turn a C bucket person into a B, and just keep cultivating people and keep nurturing people. And you're eventually the cream's going to rise to the top, and you're going to be able to pick out exactly who you want. It takes time,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to jump in real quick. Before we give everybody their day back, Dean, Richard, can you tell us what happens in your Facebook group?
Go ahead, Dean.
Yeah.
That's yours.
I mean, so Phone Words, it is a Facebook group that you can join. And then from there, there's a pinned post where there's a live Zoom. So I think someone asked before, like, how do I hear this, these agents talking amongst like all this stuff? And it's the Zoom. So there's agents, doesn't matter what company you're with, doesn't matter how long you've been in it. There's no, let's say, standard to the agent going in there. What it is designed for is that you are hearing the agents that are prospecting on a daily basis. On average, we're 20 to 30, 35, agents on the daily basis, 5 days a week, even sometimes on Sunday, actually, funny enough, and also on Saturday, where you can plug into that Zoom and it's all free, at least right now. And basically you are able to hear agents prospect for business at the highest level all around the country. Because a lot of times, you'll hear stuff in California, Arizona, Florida, wherever you are in the country that you're like, oh, I never heard of it like said like that. And that's what the Zoom is. And that's what the phone warrior community is all about.
Absolutely. And we do a podcast as well. That's where we give tips and tricks. That's where we interview people as well. So if you just listen to that, sometimes we might say something or they might say something, and you grab it and you just listen. Anything you do, if you take one little nugget and you can put that into your business, that can sometimes 10x your business. So yeah, it's going all day, every day. We have a chat that runs all the time. Referrals are going back and forth, and everybody, if you have a question, people are so amped to give you advice, and just just plug yourself in.
All right, cool. Everybody, can we get a round of applause for Dean and Richard today? Thank you guys very much. This was awesome. Debbie, how do we want to wrap it up?
Well, obviously we don't have any time for for breakout rooms, so we're just gonna call it a day and thank Dean and Richard for their time today. And then everybody knows how to save the chat. If you don't know how to save the chat, I think Danny actually left already. So let's see here. I'm trying to figure out how to, there we go, unpin that. So Ray dropped a copy of the chat earlier. So the 3 little dots have moved up to the top. If you have updated your Zoom, you click on the 3 little dots and hit save chat, and it will do that. If you haven't updated the Zoom, then the 3 little dots are still at the bottom. Actually, Ray just put in a file that you can download that has the meeting chat in there. If you are on your phone, you can't save it from the phone, although you might be able to save the file that Ray dropped in. Do we have anyone who wants to volunteer to send out the chat to the people who are on their phone?
Debbie.
Yes.
So because I was playing around with it, I'm on my phone. So I just clicked on the text that Ray saved. And if you open it with Word, it will open, and you just have to save it that way.
Excellent.
if you're on
Yeah.
your phone.
Yeah, so definitely, if you're on your phone, you can do that. And that's the only key I have for you for on your phone. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next Thursday. We've got one more Thursday morning virtual coffee before Thanksgiving. So we will be here next Thursday. Look forward to seeing you guys all then. Thank you, Dean, Richard, Ray. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Been a
Have a
pleasure.
great day, everybody.
Happy hunting, everybody.
Yes, happy hunting.
Awesome. Thank you
Don't
guys
be
so
afraid
much.
to dial tone.
Have a great day.
Thank
That's
you.
all.
Bye.